tucked up into the wheel well. Watch for the takeoff. He's flying with his right hand on the stick. Now he changes it to his left hand. He takes his right hand and cranks manually 28 turns with those wheels tucked up inside the wheel well. It's cranking up landing. That was the last of the aircraft to do that. All the rest now are all automatically electrically or hydraulically operated. The Wildcat was an incredibly important aircraft at the beginning of World War II for the United States Navy, with a top speed that did not rival its nemesis in the air, the Japanese Mitsubishi A6M0. The 317-mile-an-hour top speed of the Wildcat was still used to great effect, by the pilots who flew them against the Zeros, because they developed tactics that could beat the Zeros if possible. And by the end of the war, Wildcats enjoyed an almost 7-to-1 victory ratio against the Japanese. Gary Ward going down to the head. Now let's watch over the top as Greg Shelton flies this aircraft from an aircraft company in Long Island, New York. They've been flying and building a number of airplanes, among them some biplane fighters, but this was one that in 1937, just under 4 years before the United States entered World War II. He rolls it on stack, pulls through, and does what is called a split test. Had been redesigned and refined, and the first of the Wildcats came off the line. Amazingly, the first ones didn't go to the United States Navy. The first 5 went to the Royal Navy for their air fleet defense, and then some 90 more. The first 5 went to Canada, then 90 more went to the Royal Air Force, Royal Navy, I should say, and then the United States Navy started getting the Wildcat, known as the F4F. F for fighter number 4, and F for Grumman. Now, when Grumman had to start paying attention to manufacture of the F6F Hellcat, they couldn't produce enough Wildcats and still produce enough Hellcats. So the production was actually turned over to General Motors, and they converted 4 automobile plants into aviation manufacturing assembly lines, and they turned out many more than Grumman did, but they were built under license. In other words, General Motors took the plans, the tooling, and set up the production line to build these aircraft. Known as the Martlet, and the Martlet version of this aircraft enjoyed a very, very unique place in history, because Martlets, 2 Martlets actually, were the first aircraft built in the United States to shoot down a German airplane in World War II, even though it was flown by pilots of the Royal Navy. In all, about 7,800 or so of these were built. And I have 2 pieces of reference material that I have used that show the numbers about 600 apart in terms of the total numbers of production. So if my numbers that I share with you are different from the ones you might know, then you're right. front. Very, very unique growl. It's a twin Wasp 14-cylinder radial engine, 2 rows of 7 cylinders. Lots of moving parts. We'll hear some more radial engines when the aircraft from the fighter factory are here. But I want to give you a chance to hear as much of that wonderful sound as possible. The sound of round, as some people call it. It's a sound we just don't hear much. Some later models of the Wildcat actually were outfitted with a Wright engine with a 1,350 horsepower rating. The Wildcat was the name given to it by the Navy and Grumman. The official name for the Commonwealth countries was Martlet, although they also nicknamed it the Peanut Special. I don't know where that came from, I've just read it. It flew with the U.S. Navy and the Marines in all the major Pacific battles, and in North Africa with the Navy. The first version of the Wildcat, the XF4F-2, actually did not have folding wings. Later versions, of course, did, as most of the aircraft that worked aboard aircraft carriers had to have folding wings in order to make room for more aircraft on the deck of those straight deck carriers in World War II. There are fewer than 2 dozen of these flyable in the world today out of the over 70 It was not as fast as the Zero that had a top speed of 350 miles per hour. The Wildcat's top speed under 320. But when they would team up, they were successful in combating the Japanese Zero. In the Battle of Wake Island, 5 Marine Corps F-4, F-3s scored a number of victories over Japanese bombers and fighters. Navy Wildcats were very, very conspicuous in the early Pacific action, such as the battles of the Coral Sea and Midway. And with an almost 7-to-1 victory ratio, made it a very, very successful aircraft. It was actually flown by the Marine Corps' second leading ace in World War II, Joe Foss, who had 26 victories to his credit, flying the Wildcat. And he'll be bringing it into land, and in a moment, we're going to take you up to the most recent aircraft types that are being flown by your United States Navy and Marine Corps. We're going to take a look at the FA-18 Hornet. Lieutenant John Keith, call sign Toby, is going to come up here and chat with us about that. Greg Shelton touching down, the gentleman from Oklahoma. Let's give him a round of applause, Greg Shelton. He has restored other aircraft, including a North American Texan, but he sold that airplane in 2006 to make room for this Wildcat.